A very good evening, all. McGraw-Hill welcomes you to yet another webinar in the series of Stay Tuned. This one is on changing role of MIS in the post-pandemic world. We are seeing that there is a wide range impacting our business and industry. As a result, new ways of working, new business model, and industry boundaries are changing. Consequently, IMS role is also undergoing a massive change. Today, we have with us an expert, Mr. Sanjiva Shankar Dubey. He's a professor and head information systems as well as the chairperson of Center of Online Learning at BIMTech Greater Noida. He comes with great experience and has worked on several projects with IBM and has also served as the technology transformation expert in the IT industry and has much experience while working in IBM and the Tata Group. So we welcome you, sir, for this great session, and we are really, really looking forward to having a great session with you. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So just wanted to check with the audience, are they able to see me? Are they able to hear me properly? Just put one or two yeses in your chat box. Then I will start very briefly. So are you able to hear me? Okay, anyone? All right, so I get messages from the chat box that you are able to hear me, and my name is Sanjiva, and I have been in the IT industry for a long period. I will stop telling how many years I have been in the IT industry because many of you who are good in mathematics start calculating my age. And temperamentally, if you want to remain in IT industry, you have to always feel some around 30, 35 years. You can't grow more older, otherwise you will become useless. So with these words, I welcome you in my webinar. And I am also, incidentally, the author of the book Management Information Systems, 6th edition, which I have done with my late co-author, Professor Mr. Javadkar. And this book is here. It's also being shown in my first slide. And there is an anecdotal story around it. And the story is that while I was preparing to uh, revise the book last year, we started off. And at that time, the world was going through some changes, but not the kind of changes what we have found in the last 4 or 5 months. The great kind of depression and disruption. And while I was writing those chapters and adding those chapters, it stuck to me that this is a time for us to revise the entire approach, not only from the IT point of view, from the business point of view, because the world is undergoing a massive change, and some of these changes were unanticipated. And you are all aware of these changes? You are all witnessed those changes, as some of you have lived through it. So, is there a need for us to revisit our management information system? When I say management information system, I'm talking about the application of IT technology, besides how the technology will be used in the management of the business. And that is what the management information system is all about. Most of the MBA classes and the schools of higher education, they have a necessary subject. I have been teaching this subject for the last 25 years in various institutes, BIMTech in the last 4 years, and IIM Lucknow, SPJ in Dubai, Singapore, at various places. I am in Indore. The list is pretty long. But one thing which I have understood and which I bring to the table to my students and also my colleagues is that IT is all about innovation. And innovation best happens when you have some constraint. And the post-pandemic time, which I am describing it as a AC and BC, which I will be describing it to you. So it's a time for us to undertake large scale innovations. Okay, and my entire subject, the topic today will be around these three questions: why we should bother? Are the things going to be normal now after the pandemic is over? Or if we are going to bother, what we should do it? Okay, so next question comes up as to what we should do if you are really really worried about the current situation and the future situation, which might be much more different than what it has been before. It will be, some people call it as new normal. And finally, you might end up with a question. I attend several webinars, and we all talk about high funda stuffs, but the question comes up: How do I implement? Okay. And that is where I will bring value to the table, and I will tell you. And of course, you want to read more about it, then you can go to this book, and there is a chapter and online learning material available to you where you can get some more hands-on, especially for the benefit of your students. Many faculty I find here and many professionals are here. You can use this content to arouse the thinking, of your students to think differently. It is not going to be the new normal. So these three questions, and I'll revisit these questions at the end. Why we should bother? We should bother because of the following reasons. Okay, the reason is this is a tumultuous times. Okay, these are disruptive times. Many businesses have got impacted. Airlines business, hospitality business, and many businesses have gained out of it. Maybe because of some like healthcare. Okay, like, but the transportation business has gone down. Supply chain disruption and things like that. So global economy is going through a massive stress because of the import-export restrictions. The consumption patterns are shifted. So with that means that the businesses have to think about differently. Okay, and that is why these are the reasons why we should be bothering about it. Okay, its lockdown has a deeper impact. The revenue has fallen more than 10% in many cases. As a matter of fact, in reality, it is much more. But the technology is the only hidden warrior, okay, which has kept the world going, because if the technology would not have been there, I don't think I and you and all of us would have been talking to each other in this manner. We have webinar has become a norm. Every day you get at least half a dozen invites from various places. The digital learning has changed. Medical consultation has found a new way. E-commerce has got the impetus, and the digital payment, etc., etc. But these are all not the stray examples. As a leader, as a manager, we need to think about in much more holistic fashion. So what I have done is I have just encapsulated some of these thoughts. But let me do some checking with you. I will ask you poll some few questions and check how much you are concerned about it. If you are not concerned, then the whole webinar is of no use. But if you are concerned, then possibly we can discuss something more. So here goes our first question. Do you think that MIS will require a large change in the post-pandemic world? So it's a poll is appearing in front of you. Whatever is your opinion, you just put in here, and I will quickly show it the population result. Do you think that the world will be different? Okay, so you find yes, it is highly likely, right? So 31 people said highly likely, and now nobody said. Incidentally, nobody said it is unlikely to change much. All of us find that the world will change. There is a change required for doing it for whatever we have now. Going forward, I will ask this. So this is the final poll result. Will the MIS require a very large change in the post-pandemic world? 71% of you have said that. 18 of you will say, yeah, some changes, but not very much. Now, this is nothing to worry about, because you might be in a industry, you might be in a situation where the changes have not impacted you much, which is okay. Okay, not everybody has been impacted equally, but there are majority of the people who found that the changes have impacted a lot. Let me go to the next question. Okay, what's the next question here? The next question is, have you planned it? Fine. Have you planned it for a major transformation in the post-pandemic world? Because if you do not plan, then you will not get the results. Very simple. Okay. So let us see what is your response are. Okay. Okay, I'm getting the answer, and very soon we will have the final results on our screens. Okay, so I can see here, and the results which has come, which is almost equally divided, 32, 36%, and 30%. Uh, uh, so you can see here the results have been equally divided. So what you are saying in the divided opinion, but again, it's not something which one is not expected in the beginning. Basically, there will be three types of people, three types of organization. The one organization will say, yes, we already have a plan. We have got a plan in place and we are trying to achieve it. Maybe some of them will be more active. Some of them are still in the planning stage and where they have already started some work and they would do it in the next 18 months. And the remaining one where they are thinking about it, but no plans yet. Okay. So this is the state of the world. One third is are actively making these changes. Another one third is got a plan, but they are going to do about doing it. And finally, some people are still thinking about it. So now that I have understood your the profile of all of you, your what you are thinking about it, let me take you through as to what kind of changes are likely to take place and how are you going to plan for these changes and how you are going to implement for these changes using the concepts of MIS. And this is something which we also have to tell our students or colleagues who are not part of this webinar, that this is the approach which they have to take while they are dealing with the post-pandemic world. So if you summarize these changes, which I am describing it as years after 2020 will be called after COVID, AC, as against before COVID, BC. So before Christ is BC. BC was the what we used to call it before Christ, and AD used to be the new description of our the numbering system, AD yearly system. So these changes will be basically grouped under four types of changes. The first change is the workplace and the people related changes. Okay, we are all worried about this pandemic, and we are all worried about this virus, which we do not know how it spreads, and there are multiple opinions. And then the moment it happens, it leads to mortality, to especially to people of a later age group. So the people will require less contact. You will find not everybody to be present in the your place of work. You will require people with multi-skilling the workforce, monitoring and using the devices, using IoT. You may have to use the big data to find out how you are going to interpret your data. There will be issues of privacy and data security. Every day you hear about some news item of how the data is being compromised and how it's snooping around. And this is a time for all of us to wake up and worry about our own personal stuff, and then be careful not to post our personal things in the social media till a time it becomes more safer. Okay. So one type of changes which we all have to worry about is to look at the people related changes, because more and more people will work with from home. The customer will work from home. I have not had a face-to-face meeting in the last 6 months from my colleagues as well as my partners and the customers and suppliers or anybody. Okay, so we need to have our infrastructure to be put in place. The second is the business change. Okay, the business change is that people demand is changing. The businesses are finding it different types of demand coming up. The expenditure in certain discretionary area is no longer being done, and you will finding that the customer preference is shifting. Now this is a very long list. It's about 2 pages in the book, so you might read it more in detail. But all I am talking about these four types of changes. So worry about the people related changes, workplace related changes, then the business changes because the business model would change. The other day it was a very interesting story. I went to a pharmacist and I said, well, during the lockdown period, and I said, well, I was looking for a sleeper, bathroom sleeper, and the pharmacist said, yes, it's available at my place. Okay, typically in the pharmacies of in India and especially in Delhi, you will find the pharmacist will keep some beauty products and so on. But say now in the lockdown, we are keeping all these essentials which people might need it. So we may have to change the way the businesses are organized, the product structure would change, the business model would change, and a lot of changes are going to come in the business area. And the third one, the customer preferences. So customer has become more health conscious. They have become multiverse. They have got two universe. For example, I am at home. This is one universe of mine which I have got, and most of you may be at your home. I have got some of my colleagues who have logged in from the US. So I am very thankful to them because they have taken this early morning exercise. So thanks to all of you. So multiverse, so you have got a couple of universe all combining all of them together, and you are doing multitasking, you are doing multiple work, and you are balancing your time. Okay, you are also that if your customer interface or user interface is allowing this kind of support to the customer preferences, then you will like it. One of the study which happened, and I was listening to one of the leader of the Indian industry, and he mentioned that those companies who has already got great amount of technology transformation planned, they were able to cope up much better than those who were still thinking about it. Okay, so that leads us to the last change, which is the subject of our discussion. That if that is so, how technology changes are to be done. The technology changes are something which are the other four changes can be managed. It is better for me to just summarize them here. And one is that you will have to relook at your value chain, all the processes, and then find out how it can be made contactless. Okay, and then using voice interfaces or machine vision interfaces. When they were designing their Scorpio, and one of our suggestions as a customer touch point was that there should be voice activated command for lowering or raising the windows. Okay, and there was a TV commercial during that time when a lady is coming with the entire handful with henna, and she said that I can't use the window, so I will use the voice activated command. At that time, it looked a little preposterous, but the most lifts in the high rise buildings and the most places, the voice activated command has become a reality. So when you are designing the MIS system, you have to think, can I replace this keying entry with the voice command? Can I voice recognition can be done? Can the facial recognition can be used? All kinds of things which you have to consider as a technology. Okay, then you have to strengthen your digital infrastructure. Okay, for delivery all over the place. Obviously, there are certain infrastructure which is not under the control of the organization. For example, the major trunk routes and fiber optics and so on. But within the organization, you will have to worry about the digital infrastructure. You will have to have a better monitoring control, and the massive use of Internet of Things and the big data for early warning systems, and you will have to find out as to where the things may go wrong and take prior actions before that. Okay, you will also have to find MIS which develops the applications to promote work from home, reduce pollution, find the accelerated adoption of cloud computing. The cloud computing, on-premise computing, has got a major jolt these days, because if we have not kept our application on cloud, then it was very difficult for us to manage using only the on-premise computing. So organization will go ahead with the cloud computing. There is a chapter in the book on the cloud computing, how to adopt that. Then the next one is the enhanced use of groupware application, enterprise 2.0 application, because people will not be sitting face to face. And all this collaborating effort will not take place the way you do it while you are sitting in a conference room or sitting across the aisle and so on. So you will have to have the technology for doing that. Fortunately, I had some experience of while working in IBM about 10 years ago. I used to manage a very large team across 17 countries. And then it was a matter of daily routine to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to attend calls and video calls with our colleagues in Australia, and end up the day at 10 o'clock, because in India, there is no end time. Okay, your boss can call you anytime. Okay, so groupware applications will become much more prominent. Of course, it will have a lot of learning curve, which people have to pay respect and so on and so forth. Then you have to artificial intelligence applications across the industry will rapidly expand. The remote processing of using voice and voice interfaces will take place. You'll have to consideration for reuse, because of the challenge of imports not coming from China and various other issues, supply chain disruptions. You should not start throwing away your old electronics. Try to find out what can be done better, and how can it be used or cannibalized and improvised and so on. Big data and analytics is another area because that is how you will be able to predict if there is something is going wrong, or you will be able to understand your customer preferences much better. Then, in order to have much more security, the blockchain and the smart ledger will become more and more important. The AR and VR and 3D printing are another set of technologies which will become much more important in the coming years. All this has been discussed in the book in detail. But basically, as a MIS manager, as a MIS learner, MIS teacher, whatever, we will have to find how these technologies fit into into a seamless whole. And that is where I have got a very simple model to present to you. And this model is says 9 blocks model. Okay, where you are considering the 9 technology blocks, starting with the cloud computing and the mobile and wireless and IoT and AI ML and robotics and the big data and the smart cities, and so all of the blockchain you are considering. Basically, you have to work on 2 directions. One is more having more and more dexterity and more capabilities on the technology side, and the second is more and more about your people side. So the people and technology side both have to be worked out, and you need to find out as to where all these technologies are going to be adopted. You may have to discard a lot of other technologies in this process, because they work totally differently. Going forward, how to implement? Now we are trying to answer our last question as to how the changes are going to come. What are the ways to do the changes? So I've got very 2 simple prescription. This prescription is widely discussed. I am talking about people, process, and technology change. Just don't think that technology, by changing the technology, by adopting a video conferencing solution, our learning will improve and so on. You will also have to change the process. I am embarking on a journey for my institute and many other places where institutes are going on for the digital learning. So it is not just taking class like this or doing a webinar, but your engagement level has to change. So your process has to change. The examination, instead of one big end-term exam, it has to be a continuous evaluation. It has to be more engagement, collaborative learning using a whiteboard or Jamboard, etc., using games. Okay, I have never used games in my class in the face-to-face, and in this online class, I'll find it extremely useful because I am able to engage my students better. So change the process, and finally look at from the people point of view. Okay, because the people may be your customer. If you are got a business, and if you are dealing with different types of students, then you will have to worry about them. They may have their own challenges. They may not have the good infrastructure. They may not have the good IT infrastructure. So in that case, our solutions or our information system which we have designed must take care of the people need. So now your question would be that fine, we have understood that these 9 technologies are important. You have told us that these changes are required and we must do it. And you are saying that before taking the technology, also change the process and also worry about the people. How do we go about it? So I have got a very simple model which I would like to use it very simply, and I will give you an acronym for this so that you remember for a long term very easily. It is called AEIOU model. So you all know AEIOU is all the vowels which are required for making our letters, words. So first you will have to, it is not one time you will be able to achieve everything. So first you need to do assess and analyze what is the changing need of your business, analyze your process and find out what are the hot spots or trigger points where all these technologies can be used. Okay, and you just pick up from the 9 technology blocks. And many of these technologies you don't have to use the on-premise services. You might subscribe to the cloud services. You can take a small subscription from any of the service provider and start trying this out. In our classroom, we use a lot of freewares to help students to assess and then get to know about how to create a RPA or blockchain applications. All this list has been given in the book. If you want, you can go to these sites, and depending upon whatever is your appetite, you can use them. So the first one is assess and analyze. Assess the changing business needs, analyze the processes which you want to change it, and then going to the next step is explore. Explore is nothing but experiment. Okay. Now, this is not that you will take a big bang approach and you will try to do a big project all across the organization. Maybe you will have to start small. You will have to experiment it. You see how the success rates are. And then use methods like design thinking or various other innovation technologies to experiment. So AEI. Now, I is basically you are innovating and implementing it. So you are making the change in your current businesses, and then you are implementing the new processes, and you can use methods like the Agile, DevOps, and Biz DevOps. All these methodologies has been covered in the book, which we are referring to this, which you can refer to them as the need be. And then finally, once you have implemented them, then operationalize and optimize, because once you have done in a pilot basis, that needs to be scalable, that needs to be useful, and it used to work on 24/7. You can't use just a technology. 2 years ago, and I'm just saying an anecdote, some company came into my campus and they said, we want to use the facial recognition for the students' attendance. And at that time, I felt that this technology was not really required, because in the classroom, a teacher takes better attendance by looking at the faces of the students, and that's the way they get to know all about it. So there is no need for facial recognition or biometrics. But today in the online class, we have resorted to changing the process by having their online attendance, or using the Zoom attendance or Google Meet attendance, or any of these methods where the login. However, even if I had taken the attendance, I cannot ensure that person is attending the class with all sincerity. So we have to empower them and then make them dependable, make them self-starter, so that the attendance is not the only criteria of learning. So scalable is the last word. And then finally, use upscale and upgrade. So once you have created a small success, just try to spread all across in your organization, all across in your world. So once again, summarizing this, AEIOU is the method through which you will be able to change your MIS and implement it. Uh, uh, okay, so this is the OODD model, DA model. It is a model which was suggested by one of the US Marine major, and I've adopted from them. And basically, it says that while the organized environment is changing, and this goes like observe, orient, decide, and act. So the inner loop is the organization loop, and the outer loop is the environmental loop. So environment changes slower than the organization. We should not be slower than the environment. If we are slower than the environment, then the organization will no longer be existing. So we should not wait for everybody to change. Okay. So those of us who think that, when everybody will change, then only I will change. Now that will not be good. So your loop should be smaller than the environmental loop, where the environmental response will change. Then only you will be better off. So this is the model, what OODD model, which you can use. Fail faster, learn faster. What it means is that you may the first timer generally fail faster, and then only they learn faster. If those people who say, "Chalo, let everybody do it, and we'll learn from them," well, that may be a more it will not be a cost effective choice, because you will end up losing this more. So I will go to the last. Again, I need to check with you to check your commitment, whether my 40 minutes of talk with you has got made any conviction or not. And you need not be, because we are not noting down the name. You can also very, very honestly say whether I was able to build some commitment in you to change the MIS. Okay. Okay. Can I move to the final one? So okay, so I think now I feel that my efforts has got some more has borne some fruits here. I have been able to convince more number of people. My 33% has become now 46%, and then we have got 82%. Sorry, I was reading it wrong. So 82%. Basically, This 40 minutes of your personal time, remember, the time is the most precious asset for all of us. Okay, it is the most precious resource. If you have given this time to me, I must justify and try to give you something in return, so that you are taking some benefit. So I am very happy with this 82% result. And obviously some of you may have to discuss with your colleague, because you may not be in a decision making uh, mm, uh, situation, but doesn't matter. This webinar is available for you to, the recording will be available. You can always watch it and let your colleagues come and watch, and definitely pick up a copy of the book. If you want, the ebook is also available for you to access it, and through this portal, and I'm available in the social media or whatever ways. You can always reach out to me for any. I do a lot of free sort of webinars and so on. I have taught around 500 teachers in the last 6 months' time in how to take online classes and so on. I'm just not trying to sort of make myself popular or so on. But if you want any help, most welcome. So finally, my suggestion to you. Okay, so what is the suggestion? The suggestion is 5 lessons. Okay, so the first lesson which we have learned in the post-pandemic world is the money is important, but it is not everything. So we all know that money is important, but it is not everything. Second thing is that nothing can happen overnight. You will have to work hard. Okay, this has got nothing to do the MIS, but this is just basically your my personal lesson which I am sharing with you. The third one is that innovative ideas and communities are going to help us in the future. Okay, and there are several innovative ideas which has happened in the past in this during pandemic period. There are a lot of people who have come out with good ideas and so on. Okay, then the fourth lesson is to have a healthy balance. Okay, the healthy balance of what you want to achieve, and you have to have a not you may not try to achieve everything in one go. Your it should not be a rat race. So have patience, have humility, and have gratitude with for the whatever you have got, and keep focus on whatever you are trying to achieve. You will not achieve everything what everybody else has got, but you will get something which is good enough for you. And finally, my lesson is learn, unlearn, and relearn. I I have in this process I have learned how to create a ebook. I have learned how to create the video classes. I have learned. So whatever is my current forte, I am no longer in corporate where I would have done something differently. But since I am attached with my students, I am helping them to learn about it. So I am creating more videos and so on and so forth. So this is the 5 lessons. If you care to remember, I think it will be my personal give back to you. And thank you. And we'll be ready to answer any questions. We still have about 40 minutes, 20 minutes time, and I have deliberately kept more time for question answer than just telling one way. Okay. So, and I'm seeing your responses on the chat box, and I'm very happy for uh, right. So,
So I think a lot of audience are
yes.
requesting you to please show the book again. Can you please do that? Let's see the book once more. Thank you
Okay,
so
so
much,
Kripa
sir. So the
Shankarji,
book is managed.
Kripa Shankarji is my senior and very noted academician. So sir, this was just a trailer. आप जब बुलाएंगे, जहाँ भी बुलाएंगे, जिस भी फोरम में बुलाएंगे, हम लोग एक एक टॉपिक को we will take it in much more depth. But today was basically to in a shorter format. We wanted to cover many things to give you the glimpses. So there is some request about the sharing of the presentation. Basically, the organizer will share with you the PDF and the book. Basically, if you can use the book, you'll have most of the things available.
Yeah.
This
So
book also
no,
comes
no
with
worry at all, sir. No worry at all, sir. All of the registrants are getting, in fact, 10 days limited access to the ebook of the book as well to have a look at your book. And for anybody who wants to get in touch with us for a book or any kind of other help, you can please write to us at www at support.mhd. Okay. at our support ID. I'll reiterate that to you. I'm very sorry. Okay, so before moving on to that, we have a few questions for you. I think two of them are from two professors. So one of them is from Dr. Raj Kiran Prabhakar. That says, what will be the impact of robotics and AI in current period?
Okay, so the impact will be large. Okay, how large is only a matter of guess. It's only a matter of how much we are going to try this out. Okay, and robotics at different levels, not only the software robots, but the hard robots, which will be used for various activities, and I know there could be a second question, how about the employment? But we will leave that question at this point in time. The impact will be huge. What is more important is that we need to enable our students to understand as to what are the nuances and what are the applications and the use cases, and then let them play with some of the tools where they can get some lab exercise. Remember in our class 8 physics class, we used to make oxygen or all those gases. Were we making it on a mass scale? No. It was just an exercise which we are trying to do it, or a pinhole camera, that in the physics we used to do. We were just understanding the principle. Now, once we have understood the principle, then it becomes very easy to appreciate and work with the technology later on in our life. So something similar, sir, professor, I would request you to include that. My gut feeling is that robotics become an order of the day, and more people, because you will have to depend on the humanless, touchless services as far as possible to reduce the chances of contamination as well as the spread of the pandemic. Yeah, next question, Prakriti.
Great, sir. So we have one more, sir. This is from Dr. Kannapiran. He says, starts from EDP to MIS, now information involved through TS. What is the current age of MIS and where are we now?
So my take was that we will have to take every 5 to 7 years, the technology changes and we need to recalibrate ourselves. Okay. So in the EDP stage, we were trying to only work. This in book we have got a chapter of how the MIS has changed over the period. So initially we were try to be very localized. We were trying to solve the local problem, and then today we are trying to uh, uh, solve across the organization. For example, if I am going to buy a book, and this book is not just going to be delivered to me, there will be e-commerce portal, there will be a payment gateway, there will be a pickup agency, there will be a transportation. If it's the e-book, there will be a service provider, the cloud provider, and so on. So, at the current time, this is a new wave which has come, and this wave is going to have much more impactful than all the waves before. Some people call it as Industry 4.0, Education 4.0, or whatever zero you can add. But basically, here we will be coexisting with the machine system. Okay, earlier the machine used to work separately, and the human being used to work separately, but in the future world, the machine and human beings will start coexisting. There are certain dangers and challenges, but still we will have to use the machine as our able deputy, so that we can conduct our work better. Very simple example would be the use of Google Map. When we start our day, and then we tend to drive, the Google Map tells us which is the easiest path or the fastest path to go. So we are using that technology, which is the AI and the GPS and blah blah, which is helping us to reach our destination faster. Something similar may happen to choose my alternatives. Something may happen in getting my things delivered, or even making a good product, because the robots will work more precisely than the human beings in many cases. So, in short, these are the 9 technologies I have referred to you, are going to be the future of the watch. Some of them will be much more accelerated, who are on the left hand side, and some of them which are going to be the next. There is a law called Amara law. We have discussed that in the book. The Amara law says that most of these emerging technologies perform less than the anticipated in the near term, but exceed the expectation in the longer term. And it is apt for all these technologies. Robotics seems to be something very, to be happening, or science fiction stuff, but today it is not going to be that in the near future. You will find that the robots doing it not be humanoid robots, it could be just machine robots which will be doing the automation services for you.
Great. So I think after your announcement, the questions have been flowing in. We have from one from Dr. Behra. He says whether MIS will change the previous information system and if there is any innovative way for MIS keeping the view of pandemic.
Keeping the view of
Pandemic, sir, the
the
current
life.
pandemic.
Okay, so what we have to do is that what we may have to do here is that given this constraint at one end, and what are the constraint pandemic is putting us, it says that you should not come in contact with people. You should trace, the someone who has got who has come in contact. You should avoid going to the gathering and so on. Now, given all these constraints and all these business changes and customer preferences, we need to find out where my MIS is going to change. Okay, and we need to examine almost all the processes, and then we need to say, well, this process will require this much of change, that process will require, and go back to the my what I suggested, AIOU model. Okay, so we try to find out what are the changes which are necessary in each of these processes, and accordingly take baby steps. Okay, and then only you will be able to justify, because this change, it is like a one-way street, there is no going back. Okay, I don't think the students who have maybe you will try to do a little less later, but you will not totally abandon what the new change has taken place.
Great. So we have one from Mr. Vivek Gupta. So he says that kindly highlight the challenges faced by MIS managers during COVID-19.
Okay, so Vivek ji, the challenge of the MIS manager, and I've been one in my limited sense, we found that many times the MIS managers themselves were not ready for the pandemic. What to worry about their the larger counterparts? So they thought that they are sitting next to the on-premise devices, so they have got all the control. But it was realized that no, they also have to work from home, or one of their colleagues may not be able to come to the office or the data center. So that necessitated that they need to work, find out remotely. So remote access and remote logging, moving to the cloud. So most MIS managers are very strongly considering to put their on-premise facilities to the cloud. Okay, and very simple example from the academics I can give. Many of us were very fond of using the desktop because it is convenient. It has got large screen and various other things. And then during the lockdown, all of us, many of us who were not having their data on their laptop or they were finding it very tough. So the solution was that data should not be kept on their desktop. It should be kept on the shared in the cloud platform, and then they either Google Drive or whatever drive. Then only they will need to change. So the MIS manager has got two changes. One is to look at the technology and the way it is was being delivered earlier. Now it has to more business resilient. Has to be a business continuity plan in place. There has to be a backup and recovery plan in place. And second is to also help the users to educate about the new way of doing the work. Okay, the way of earlier working, that somebody will come on my desktop and help me solve this problem, will not no longer work. It has to They have to be a evangelist. They need to be the evangelist or the change agent for bringing about these changes with their colleagues. So two roles: fix their house in order and also be the evangelist for their other colleagues who are dependent on you.
Great, sir. So we have one we have one more very interesting question, which says, how and where do you draw the line between required and desired technology solutions?
Okay. so so of course, the required and desired, it depends upon your size of your pocket. Okay, so you can decide, if you can't afford, obviously your requirement will be less. You have to find some workaround. But if you can afford, you can always try to look at from the your boundary between the desired and the required will start getting blurred. The good news is that for the starting you don't have to pay a lot of investment. Okay, there are a lot of pay for use facilities are available, and then there's a very small subscription. You can start your journey. You can also test it out for a month or 2 or 3. Most of my lab session which I give it to my students, and they have got a login period of 1 month, and I say, guys, please complete your project in 1 month on the free login. Okay, and that's it. My course also ends in 2 months, 2.5 months time. So we need to ultimately there is a cost will be involved. So if there is a cost involved, try to find some innovative means to fund your investment. Try to use some freewares for doing it, and that's what maybe maybe more useful.
Okay,
Okay.
so I have one very interesting one. I'm not sure. He says that Mr. Vivek Gupta, he only tells us that you are very interested in writing poems, apparently, and you're a great poem writer. So, can we have a few lines maybe on something on the topic, maybe?
Okay, so I know Vivekji, many of these attendees are known to me, and they have been excellent colleagues to me, and they are aware of my shortcomings, like writing poetry and so on. So I'm not a
This is
poet as such,
talent,
but
sir. This is pure talent. We must listen to a few lines, sir.
okay. So I just wrote few a few lines on the technology. It is on IoT. Okay, Internet of Things. This technology is. So the title of the poet, and then pardon me because it's in Hindi, so as I'll ask someone to translate that. So the title of the poem is Yantron ka Antarjal, Internet of Things. So कहा यंत्र से मैंने एक दिन, तुम मशीन हो तुमको तो अक्सर रहना है मौन. कहा यंत्र से मैंने एक दिन, तुम मशीन हो तुमको तो अक्सर रहना है मौन, तेरे साथ हो रहा क्या यह बात सुनेगा कौन. कहा यंत्र ने मुझसे, सुन ले हे अज्ञानी, इंटरनेट और आईओटी से लोग सुनेंगे मेरी कहानी. इंटरनेट और आईओटी से लोग सुनेंगे मेरी कहानी. तुमको यदि अवकाश न होगा तब कोई दूजा यंत्र सुनेगा. मेरे अंदर हो रहा क्या यह बात उसी के पास रहेगा. तुमको यदि अवकाश न होगा दूजा कोई यंत्र सुनेगा. सिग्नल के लाल होते ही वाहन अब स्वतः रुकेगा. So I've tried to encapsulate that many of our accidents will get prevented if the driverless cars come in, because driverless car will follow the signal much more better, and and they will slow down. As a human being, we always accelerate the pedal when we see the yellow light, but the driverless car will automatically slow down. So Vivekji, I hope I've been able to do a little justice for you. I was not prepared for anything, but I hope it was useful.
Hands down, sir. I think we have a very talented speaker in the house. I think all the attendees really, really enjoyed that poem. Okay, sir. So we have one more question coming your way. This is from Miss Mitali S, and she asks, "Sir, what is your take on adoption of new technologies by SMEs who are already grappling with financial crunch?"
Uh, New technology adoption by which type of
So
companies?
SMEs, new
SMEs. Okay.
technologies by SMEs who are already grappling with financial crunch.
Okay. So I think this question has come to me in the past also. I was doing some work for the SME Association of of Ghaziabad Management Association, my take to them is that there is no cost to you. Okay, if you are SME, there are freewares available to you. You can use the freewares and sit with me. There is a free software movement. You don't have to invest in the. Of course, you need to have a laptop or desktop or a mobile phone, but you do not have to invest to start. There are freewares available for your online operations. You can go to HubSpot for your SME CRM. You can do something for your online classes. You can do something for your groupware. These all things are available on a very cost effective manner. Obviously, if you keep these things in place, then only you will be able to reach out to a larger cross section. And one of the reason why SMEs always struggle is that they are not able to serve their customer. Their market reach is very limited, and they're always dependent upon some one or two major customers. And when those customers are not doing well, they start impacting. Now, if you have got your own, let's say, way of doing things, then you will be able to reach out to a larger space, and then without much of the expenditure, you can meet your IT requirements. So, Mitali, you can
Okay,
meet your
so
IT requirements without much expense.
so I think, sir, with the shortage of time, we'll have time for just two more, and I have one from Dr. Aravinda Reddy. He asks, some middle level management, the tactical management, has been seen misusing the MIS reports. Can we avoid it, and how to avoid it?
Don't give it to them. If they're misusing, don't give it to them, because I understand that when you say misuse, it means that they are generating the report and not using it. And it has happened in my career many a times. We felt that so it was a very simple exercise. Stop sending the report, stop giving that service. If you don't ask us for three weeks or 2 weeks, you stop them completely. You said if three you can run without 3 weeks, it means that you don't need it. So you are also a custodian. MIS manager is also a custodian of the corporate IT resources, and nobody has a should be allowed to do the misuse of this. So you try to find some innovative ways. Try to find out why he is misusing it, and if requires, use your seniors to impress upon him or her.
Yes. Okay, so I think this one is inspired from your inputs earlier. This is from Mr. Avanindra Singh, and he asks why multi-skilling will be needed after COVID.
Okay, so there are two reasons. I was pondering on this. Multi-skilling is something which has been in vogue for the last many years. But somewhere we always swing between multi-skilling and a deep expertise. Remember, the deep expertise is required if you are in a very research-oriented work, and then something which you want to focus a lot. But most of the work can be done by having a multi-skilling. So let's say you have got two workers who have got two different skills, and then both of them are supposed to come and work on two different machines at the same time. Now, in the COVID situation, one of them does not turn up. So what do I do? Or the other machine will be off. But here, the same person can switch from one machine to the other machine and maybe at least achieve half of the production, because this two machines are required to complete the production. Something similar. So the multi-skilling is will be the order of the day. You will find that people with multiple skilling will be much more valued in the future, because you need to have multiple abilities to face the realities of the world. When I say so, I'm aware of there is a need for a specialist, there is a need for deep skill, but most of the time that deep skill will be required not for the routine and such kind of work. It might be required only for a very highly sophisticated research oriented work.
Thank you so much, sir. I think this has been a very informative and insightful session. Any parting ways for our attendees, sir?
Okay, so I was just trying to check with my. I've seen the comments in the chat box, and I'm deeply appreciative for each of these comments. Individually, I have not been able to reply to them, but my mail ID is already I'll shared with you. This PPT will have, otherwise get connected with me. I was checking with you whether I had some plans to share some videos to you through the micro help platform about this. If that is something you want, we'll work out something to start giving you some more sessions like this whenever it is organized and whenever the time comes up. So I'm with you. I'm with you, Michael McGraw-Hill, and many thanks, Prakriti, for organizing it so well. Listeners, please let me tell you that in order to give this 1 hour talk, we spent around another 3 to 4 hours discussing as to how to manage the talk and how to give sessions and so on and so forth. So, like I said in the beginning, nothing happens overnight. A lot of preparation goes in each one of them, and thanks to the team of which many of you are not present, or they are not talking to you, but they have a very great role in organizing this. So thanks to all of you. And thanks for my colleagues who have joined from US. It must be very early morning to you, Avnendra. And look forward offline talking to you.
Thank you so much, sir, for those wonderful parting words. Thank you to all our wonderful attendees and the few ones who told us that sir is so talented to have written a book of poems as well. I think we are going to now go after him and ask him for some more lines as well, maybe after the session. For now, thank you to all the attendees. Thank you, sir, for this great session. To all the attendees, one small message. You will all be receiving the certificates for the session as well as the link to the recording of this session very soon on your registered email IDs. In case you don't, please write to us at support.india@imageeducation.com, and you can purchase latest edition of Sir's book on Amazon. The ISBN and the link has been given on your screen on the presentation slide. In case you find any issue, please do not hesitate to contact us. Thank you so much for joining us this evening and making this session a success. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
Namaskar.